Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have an exciting fireside chat ahead now. And we're going to be talking about how you build out a new conscious investment playbook. And some of you are probably a bit quizzical, wondering what does conscious investing mean? And we'll get to that in a bit. But first, I'd like to welcome Fahim AlQasimi, co-founder of VentureSouq. His partner in crime is sitting in the front row if anyone wants to learn more, and can go find Sean and Fahim afterwards. What I want to talk about today is basically the nexus between technology and entrepreneurship. And I myself am a VC investor. I'm a founding partner at VentureSouq. I lead our climate investment efforts. And VentureSouq, full disclosure, is one of our portfolio companies. So you'll see that Fahim and I have quite a good relationship and an engaging conversation going. But I'd like to start off, Fahim. People know, obviously, of VentureSouq. A lot of people have seen the VentureSouq trucks in the UAE and beyond. How did you get to start VentureSouq in the first place?
Thanks, Sonia. And thanks to everybody for being here on day 3. Familiar faces. It's very exciting to be here. And also, we are a portfolio company of FII. So for us...
Congratulations. That was announced yesterday.
Merci. And for us to be showcasing really world-changing technology from the region here is very meaningful to us. The story, as we tell it, is one of passion, of really caring. Sean and I had a friend, still have a friend, who has an oyster farm. And he was struggling with opaque supply chains and not getting his fantastic sustainable product into the hands of business buyers. And I remember distinctly Sean being at this dinner saying to me, what we need is a B2B marketplace for fish. And I looked back and I said, how would this work? And today we tell the story of our vertically integrated marketplace, a platform that allows you to trade, trace, finance, and ship products around the world. But that came with time. I don't think entrepreneurs talk honestly enough about the journey. We started with just the idea to trade, and then we realized we could trace. And then we were listening to our customers, and they say, we need trade finance. So we built it, and it evolved along the way. But I think the North Star is still, we're overfishing our oceans. We're wasting 45% in the supply chain, and 1 in 5 pieces of seafood that you eat is mislabeled. If we can solve that problem, then we're, moving towards our North Star.
Okay, so that provides some good context to what you do. So I'm going to ask you a couple of little surprise questions. So if I asked you, who are you, what would you answer?
Who am I? I am commonly known in the UAE as Turtle Shake, because I work in turtle conservation. To most of my friends, they'll know me as Salim and Rashid's dad, Anna Roberts' husband.
Okay.
But proudly, I'm an entrepreneur. And what an entrepreneur means to me, because it's a very abstract term, is somebody that's trying to fix a problem. And if you're smart enough to focus on one, and ours is the issue of overfishing and illegal fishing.
Okay. So when I talk about conscious investing, what immediately comes to mind?
I think conscious investing for me is understanding that every dollar that you spend and knowing exactly where it's going to. I think what we've done with technology and with people's interest in investment over the last few years is gotten investors closer to where their dollar is going, and asking more questions on what that company is doing or what those founders are doing with that capital. Gone are the days of just park your money in an ETF. People want to know what their portfolio is doing for the world, and whether or not they can sleep better at night.
And do you feel that that is something that is growing in interest in this region? From my perspective, and you and I have talked about this in the past, I do feel sometimes that the region, and the rest of the world, to be perfectly frank, sometimes is more kind of two-pocket thinking driven, very much kind of one pocket for philanthropy versus one pocket for profit. I think there's a level of education that's required. People can invest in mission-driven founders such as yourself and Sean and actually get a financial return out of this, right? I mean, you are a business after all. This is not a philanthropic endeavor for you.
No, once again, I think us as human beings, we love aggregating things to the abstract.
Yeah.
ESG, sustainability,
Yeah.
impact, big words. That there's a lot behind that. For us, when we talk about sustainability in Seafood Souq, Sean and I are balancing the fine act of what is environmental sustainability, but also what is economic and financial sustainability for our business. There needs to be a financial return in what we're building. But your question was very complex because it goes very deep. What is changing in the world? I think there were multiple driving forces at the same time. One, the new generation are asking more questions. We've reached this inflection point where consumption is not coming under fire, but I think we're reassessing how people are consuming. People really want to know what's going on. In our business, the big game changer for us was Seaspiracy. If you've seen that, it was probably one of the most conversations we've had with investors after that documentary came out. And Ali Tabrizi and Sean, spoke at previous events about what we're doing together. So one is this pressure in how the world is seeing it. The other part as well is that the business world has realized that you don't need to have that two-pocket thinking anymore. That businesses emerged when you look at people that I admire in Patagonia, businesses that said, look, we can have an ethical mission statement, alongside a business need or a business value proposition, and that's changed. So, are we going to meet in the middle? Yes, it means that, social impact and philanthropy will move into more financial sustainability, and on the other side, people that were only for profit are questioning whether CSR still exists and moving towards more impact-driven missions.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I've seen, on the investment side, definitely a lot of corporates who have these CSR programs, or historically have had a lot of CSR programs, kind of shifting some of that money and those budgets actually towards equity investments into companies. We've invested in companies alongside a lot of corporates now who used to use that pool of capital towards, planting more trees, et cetera. But now they're like, you know what, instead of just spending $1 million on planting trees, let's invest that $1 million into a company that's doing this at scale, right?
100%.
So that's a good segue into the kind of next topic around, I guess, fundraising. So you recently fundraised. Obviously, FII came in as announced yesterday, which is exciting. We went in alongside some other regional investors as well. How was that for you?
Can I be honest? I'm looking at the audience. I don't know what you guys want to hear. Yeah, some real honesty. Fundraising is painful.
Yeah.
Is something that makes you a very...
I can see the entrepreneurs nodding already.
That's a good one. Audience participation. Entrepreneurs in the room, hands up. One, a few there. Entrepreneurs anymore? You grow very thick skin. We had somebody say no to our current convertible round now, and they were very apologetic. And the truth is that they don't need to apologize anymore. We've been through it. It's very difficult meeting mandates and pools of capital with your particular mission, and there's a lot of people out there, fighting for their missions, and it's okay for it not to work. Having said that, the fundraising never stops. Sean and I have Sorry, I'll be really honest because we've got a small, intimate audience. And guys, move forward. It helps me sort of see the whites of your eyes. We promised we would celebrate after our friends and family round. We never did. We promised we would celebrate after seed round. We went straight into a bridge. After the bridge round was done, we said, okay, let's go out for a nice dinner. We landed in Series A. We've just closed Series A. We haven't had time to celebrate, and we're launched this bridge round. So I think the perpetual raising can be a little bit daunting for some. Where I will say, with full honesty, because we have nothing to hide, Sean and I have this relationship that we've built over the last 4 years. And we weren't friends before we started the business. We knew, we're in the same circles.
You were, you were not?
We weren't.
We're not.
We weren't friends. We've become...
You didn't like each other?
Sorry?
You didn't like each other before?
No, we had never really met before, but I think what I guess brought us together was this common appreciation for the oceans.
Yeah.
We both spearfish, and we both surf, and we both spent our time in the ocean. And then we had this common challenge that we wanted to tackle together. But trying to get to the crux of it, Sean and I have an appreciation for where our strengths are. And while Sean is driving as CEO the business and how we operate and a team that is growing and a team that is motivated, my strengths are working with investor relations and really focusing on the fundraise. So I think they all say having a co-founder is amazing, and it's a necessity, but even more so being very crystal about what the individual roles are. Sean can't be in front of every investor when he's also managing a 30-person team that's split between Europe, the Middle East and Asia, right? So,
Yeah.
and I'm being just very, very honest about what the challenges are and how to overcome them when you fundraise.
And how do you feel? I mean, of course, fundraising is hard. It's hard for investors fundraising for LPs. It's hard for entrepreneurs raising from investors. But like, are there any kind of interesting anecdotes that you'd want to share on like, did it go according to what you thought it was going to be like? And like, if not, why?
So, Sean, sorry, buddy. I'm going to go full, as transparent as our marketplace, talk about the challenges. Look, I'm very proud of the fact that we are a technology company from the region for the world. We're not a technology that has been built before. This is not a business model that has been done before, which meant, Sonia, at the start, nobody believed in us. And I'll say this with respect, مع احترامي الشديد يعني الخليجيين في الaudience. As an Emirati founder, nobody believed we could do it. Like, why you guys? Why would the Middle East change the world? And for us, we said, why not? And we pushed very hard for that. And in the early days, it was really tough. Luckily, we had people that trusted us, that wanted to see us succeed. You're one of them, Sonia. I sing your praises as VentureSouq and Conscious Collective, because you have to take a big leap of faith with, one, the problem and the founders. But having said that, 14 months ago, we went through the experience of a funding round completely falling apart. The market was difficult, COVID, trying to raise money remotely. We haven't talked about this. This was really difficult.
Yeah.
And Sean and I were in this situation. I was in Germany, in my house in Germany, and Sean was in Paris at the time. And we had this call, and my wife will still tell the story. I went white. We just heard that this investor had pulled out. I went white in the face, and I thought this was it. This was going to be the end. And I still get anxiety attacks telling the story, but and Sean had the same thing. I felt like I was going to throw up. We had 25 people that relied on us building this business, and we wanted to make it succeed. And we had this big heart-to-heart that I think will make us, best friends for the rest of our life, which is, are we going to let this company fail now, or are we just going to pull through it? And what we asked of our team and what we asked of ourselves to get through that part is the stories that I think nobody really tells. I can stand up here and tell you, alhamdulillah, 12 months later, we have FII, we have VentureSouq, we're a growing business. We've grew 1,800% in the last 18 months. We've done fantastically, and we're very thankful. But I'm here to the entrepreneurs in the room, because there's so many of you, to tell you we've all been through those horrific moments that scare the living daylights out of you and question your own vision and destroy your self-esteem and wonder. And I think we need to be a little bit more open as founders with our investment partners, with audiences like this, is to talk about the really hard parts. Everybody can stand up and talk about how great it is when it's going well, but we tend to lose sight of the fact that they've been tough times, and it's okay to go through those. And the support mechanisms that you get from your partners, whether that be your family, your business partners, or your investors, is really what makes a difference in a successful company.
Also, the story probably would have been different if Sean wasn't in your life. I mean, let's be honest, right? If you were a solopreneur, no, but it's true. Like, imagine going through what you just did, what you just explained, alone. Yes, you can talk to your wife, you can talk to your friends, you can kind of, call me up, etc. What do I do, etc. But I think that, it is important to have, I guess for the entrepreneurs in the room, I think having a co-founder that you can really, who's there for you and there for each other, who you can soundboard with, and I think it's very important as well, right?
Can I ask, so I'm going to go through the room again just because more people have joined. Entrepreneurs, hands up. Investors, hands up. Advisors, anybody else in the space? Just D, none of the above? So. Okay, we've got a few there. I think bridging that understanding to the investors in the room, please be, if you haven't been a founder yourself, be very conscientious of the fact that we have to put our game face on in front of you all of the time. And we will until you invest, you won't see the tough sides. And for us, it becomes really, the attrition on always having to sell the great story is there. And to the founders in the room, I will say, if you find the right partners that are in it for the long term, fortunately we have FII, we have VentureSouq and others, don't be afraid to call up when the times are bad, because those support mechanisms are actually what matters. We're talking about conscious investing. We'll get back maybe on track to that topic, but while we're on this is, being a conscious investor also means consciously understanding what the founders are going through. And I think that's a topic that we don't talk about enough in.
And having that empathy and kind of conscious leadership. I agree with you. This is again a good segue into the next one, which is so thinking about that cap table composition, right, and thinking about maybe the types of investors and the type of investor profiles that you would want, like. So what I say to founders, is like we diligence you guys. You should be diligencing us as well as investors. What are the type? This is a marriage, right? This is not a date. So what kind of due diligence? What kinds of investors did you want on your wish list for your cap table composition?
So once again, no holds barred. This is the most honest conversation you may hear at FII. I remember us sitting for that breakfast coffee and you asking me that question, and that's where an investor and investee relationship works best. Is that I said, Sonia, I'd never thought about what my cap table looks like. For us, we were at a stage where we were struggling to, one, convince people that the oceans matter and we need to save them, and this is one way to do it. And the number two part was, here was a company out of the Middle East trying to change the world. 90% of our business has nothing to do with the GCC, right? We are a global company, but it was born and bred out of the GCC. We'd never thought about that. For us, I think our North Star, or at least our litmus test for an investor is, nobody has done this before, and things will change. If you are comfortable with Sean and I taking those risks and pivoting in the long term, listening to our customers, then you're the right partner for us. I don't care if you're a venture fund domiciled here or there, or pools of capital from where. What we care about is, do you care about the same things we care about?
Yeah.
If you do, it'll take time, but we're pretty certain now that we're going to solve some problems.
Yeah. And so for VentureSouq, sorry, so what's next? Tell me. I mean, I know some of it, obviously, but
convertible
share with
bridge
the
round. No, what is next? We're really excited about.
And what markets are you in? Maybe you can give them a bit of an overview.
So we're in over 25 markets around the world. We source the seafood challenge is predominantly in emerging markets and bridging it into developed markets. So we source from South America, Southeast Asia, South Asia, the Gulf, and then we sell into Europe, the US, China, and more and more markets around the world. Where our business model evolved, I won't say changed, is that we're very much customer driven, in that we listen to our customers, whether they're a supplier or a buyer of seafood across the world. And they made it extremely clear to us that tracing seafood is extremely important. The FDA has just made it mandatory in the United States, and our traceability play allows you to know exactly where that fish came from. We then heard that freight was an interesting value proposition, to book freight within the platform. And then we heard that trade finance is a huge issue. And we're very fortunate that we work with leading global banks to provide trade finance for the seafood industry. It means making sure the value transfer gets to the people that need it most. The fishermen that cannot accept a letter of credit from a French bank because that seafood producer needs cash today to pay salaries, cash in hand in Bangladesh. So for us to build that in-platform was fascinating. What it means is that I'll never call it fintech, but there is an in-platform lending business that we have that we're building out. That's really exciting, and that's what's next.
So B2B marketplace, supply chain technology, and fintech. I will call it fintech, but yes, financing.
Yeah, indeed.
I think it's exciting. Okay, so we're running out of time, but I have one last question, which is, if there's one key takeaway that you want the audience to go away with, what would that be?
It's a very difficult question.
Mr. Turtle Shake.
Mr. Turtle Shake. Sean and I have gone through the hard parts. We're in a very good place now that people know who we are, and we get the opportunity and are extremely thankful to speak in public spaces like this. But I've said this publicly before. The Gulf still has a bit of an inferiority complex. We look for proven business models elsewhere and try to replicate them here. And I think we're beyond that now. I think FII has proven it more than anybody that we can be innovators for the world from here. And we're extremely proud to be doing that from the UAE and Saudi Arabia. And with that is to block out some of the noise that the world is saying about us. I'm Emirati. And everybody keeps telling me, how do you feel about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and what's being done there? Is it competition? And I keep saying, the pie is big enough for everybody. A rising tide lifts all ships. We're extremely excited to see the region growing together. A strong Saudi is great for the UAE. A strong UAE is great for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We look forward to seeing more and more exciting stuff coming from this region, and we're an extremely proud partner of FII and everything that it's trying to prove. So just a bit of confidence in what we're building here.
Thank you for providing me with goosebumps right now with that statement. Thank you so much for your time, Fahim. Thank you for everyone for joining. This was great. Thank you.